when we talk about something as on a grand of a scale as transformation of schools, I think the first thing that we need to realize is education is an extremely personal experience. It needs to be personal for each individual student, for each individual child that goes through a classroom. With that being said, one size fits all schools does not work. We need to move to a system where we support a child going to a school where they can be successful. We need to allow that child, along with their parents, to determine what they want to get out of school. Do they want a liberal arts education to continue into the four-year university? Do they want a vocational education where they can get a certificate while in high school or move on to the community college? What do they want out of the schools? I think they're all valid answers, and I believe that our public school system should support each and every one of those answers. I also believe that we should support, in that, the charter schools, which are public schools, but we also need to support our private schools and we need to support our home schools. Every student is not going to do well in every classroom in every school. That's not a slam on a public school system. Every student that comes into my social studies classroom is not as suited for me as they would be another teacher. I am a Socratic method type teacher. I like to teach through asking questions. Not all students work that way. That's not their fault. But we need to reform the system so that every student can go to a school where they can learn. We need to get behind Governor McCrory's emphasis on vocational education where it's needed, and we need to work on those that need to go to that desire to go the liberal arts track for a four-year liberal arts degree. But education in terms of transformation is extremely important, and it's something that our General Assembly hasn't done particularly well. Now, you can say that they're hampered by DPI, and I would agree with you, but we're going to need some significant changes in Raleigh in order to make that happen.
Our next question also focuses on education. Yesterday, the Educator Effectiveness and Compensation Task Force released their report. One of the recommendations was, quote, significantly increasing the salaries for entering teachers and those teachers most likely to leave the profession in the state, those with less than 10 years of experience. Do you support this recommendation, and how would you go about funding increased salaries? Mr. Mitchell.
In the article that reported that report being released, it indicated that it met with cold reception from both educators and legislators. I suspect it met with cold reception from educators because it didn't as quickly as some would like, move the pay scale up, and it didn't sit well with many of the legislators because it comes with quite a hefty price tag. I think that the governor's most recent plan in terms of raising starting salaries up to around $35,000 is a good place to start. But I want to emphasize that it's not going to fix the problem. We really need to look at reform as a whole. Whenever you start taking little pieces, such as raising beginning teacher salary, you're going to cause some issues. Take a 25-year teacher, and I don't have 25 years of experience. But as you begin to move the bottom of the pay scale up, you increase what's called compression. You push more people into the center there of the pay scale, and it's going to cause some issues. So teacher pay is something that needs to be looked at, but I don't have a problem with looking at it in the context of, personally, I work for the schools. I get paid for 10 months out of the year. I have to divide that over 12. If we are going to seriously look at reforming education and you want to begin to increase pay, put me to work for 11 months. There are plenty of things that I could do at the school in terms of getting ready for the next year. That's a quick way to raise a teacher's salary by 10% immediately while not still having them, as many people consider it, sit at home over the summer. So I believe there are some innovative ways that we can work on teacher compensation, and certainly performance has to be one of those models. I think that we test too much. I think that we need accountability, but we test too much, and I think that our compensation model is going to have to move towards a performance-based model.
Mr. Warren.
Thank you. Yeah, I was one of the legislators that wasn't real tickled to death about the way the task force ended up. I think a lot of people's expectations were that they would come out with some legislative recommendations other than needs more study. Back on February 10th, the leadership of the House, the Senate, and the governor announced a two-phase pay plan. And it seemed like nobody heard phase 2 was even mentioned. Now, phase 1 called for immediately taking the starting teacher's pay up to the regional average of $33,000. And then in 2015, taking it up to the national average of $35,000. The immediate outcry was, what about the rest of the teachers? And one of the points that Mr. Mitchell made, if there was nothing else planned to do, then you would reach a point where a new teacher making $35,000 is at a parity with someone else on one of the 37 steps that a teacher's pay is based on, where you would have a compression factor where somebody who might be an 8 or 10 or 12-year teacher is only making $500 more than someone just starting out. But the point of the announcement was that phase 2 pay raises for teachers beyond the phase 1 stage would be announced as soon as we knew where Medicaid was going to hit us this year. Medicaid overruns are killing the state financially, and our administrative costs are about 6.5% greater than any other state with similar demographics to ours. When we first took over the legislature in 2011, we were working 6 months on a former Democrat budget, and that first year we had a $500 million overrun on Medicaid. And that's something we have to get our arms around, but I'd like to come back to the teacher pay because that, I believe, will be resolved in the short session.
Thank you. Our next question, we will start with Mr. Warren. News reports have indicated that the tax cuts passed by the General Assembly have trimmed the amount of revenue coming into the state, potentially risking the promised raises for teachers. What would be your solution to finding the resources for these promised raises? Mr. Warren.
Well, the tax revision actually still shows revenue growth over previous years. The difference is with the tax revision that we did, there's going to be about a $600 million less increase in revenue than if we had done nothing at all. So this is more money that's back into the economy, fueling the economy and moving forward, but we should still bring in, all projections being fair, we should bring in over $400 million more than the previous year. As far as revenue sources go, there's lots of ways to find revenue within the existing budget. But we do have other revenue sources coming online. Starting in this past February, we're now starting to see a revenue stream come in from Amazon online with taxes being paid there. But you can also look at consolidation in government operations to reach savings. We saw a savings when we moved State Highway Patrol over, we're now starting DES over, we saw savings in those areas there. So there's still opportunity to consolidate government entities into different departments, which will yield savings there and free that money up for other resources, such as education. So I think that we have the opportunity to get revenue for teachers' raises, and one of the big sources for that would be the changes that are being considered now in Medicaid. DES came out this past week with a general plan of recommendations that they have for changing our Medicaid system and through a public-private partnership type deal, which will reap some massive savings there for us. So it's, again, a matter of identifying new revenue sources and streamlining the cost of operation of the government to free up existing money. We are currently spending about $7 to $12 billion a year, depending on how you want to break down between grades on that, and about 80% of that education money goes to teacher pay.
Thank you. Mr. Mitchell.
When you look at something like revenue, what you're looking at is you've got two ways to raise it. You can increase your taxes, or you can attempt to find some savings within your current budget. I think the state has done a reasonably good job of finding savings within the current budget. I'm afraid that they are getting close to like our county budget, and they've really wrung all of the savings just about out of it that they can. So we need to begin to look at other things. I don't really like the angle of the question in terms of finding money for teacher raises, because teachers are not the only employees that the state has. What about the other state employees that haven't had raises in years as well? So when I would look at it, I would certainly not look at the issue from the perspective of how am I going to give teachers raises. Teachers are state employees just like many others are state employees, but we have many different offices around, from cultural resources to Diener to our highway patrol and countless others, and they all need to get a piece of the pie, if you will, in terms of raises. No one has gotten significant raises in a while. So while I certainly support teacher income going up, I also support the fact that we need to focus on a way to assist all of our other state employees. If you look at the rank and file state employee, they're not making huge amounts of money, and the raises that they get are just as important to them as the teachers. So as we begin to look at the revenue picture, I think that Raleigh needs to really click in on stopping a process that they have of taking revenue streams from counties. We had the lottery was passed, and we were promised that lottery would give us money for school construction. That money's dropped by $1.5 million. So it seems like Raleigh never has the issue with raising revenue because they just take it from wherever they want it, and then others have to deal with it.